All right. Happy Friday, AmeriFirst. Happy Friday to AmeriTrust, and a happy Friday, if I could say it in Spanish, I would, to AmeriUno. Todd, can you help me on that? Happy Friday in Spanish?
I cannot. I'm sorry.
All right. No worries. We are in for a treat for today's hour of power, and we'll get started here in just a couple of seconds. We'll let everybody join. Make sure everybody doesn't miss any of today's special event. Looking forward to it. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Juan. Feliz Viernes. I probably should have known that. I had 4 or 5 years of Spanish. I probably should have known that, but
I've been hollering
thank you, Juan.
Viernes. I've been hollering Viernes, but my thing was muted. Sorry about that.
All right, we got it. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Okay, let's give it another couple of seconds before we get started on today's hour of power for Friday, January 22nd, I think it is. Holy cow. Where is 2021 in January already gone? All right. Let's see. The Q&A is loaded. Here we go, and we're off to a good start. So let's get started. It is Friday, and it is Hour of Power, and we have a special guest, a very good friend and partner of ours, Todd Duncan. We are using Zoom. So in the event we get Zoom bombed, we will shut this down. Jessica will be kind enough to do that for us, and we'll start it all over again. Questions, we want some interactive. We'll be giving away some signed books. We've got other special prizes for those that are attending. Want to welcome all of our real estate partners that are joining us as well in the communities around the country. So with that said, for those of you that don't know Todd, I'm just giving a brief introduction. He's got many years of mortgage banking experience, many years of coaching and mentoring loan officers around the country, written multiple books, is the one I just showed you here, which I know I'm on the small screen, and we're going to talk today about the 5 irrefutable principles of high performance mortgage and real estate practices, with some really cool cars and graphics and great stuff. Welcome, Todd. Hey, the last time we saw we interrupted your bike trip. For those of us that were on that, thank you for appreciate you doing that back then, and certainly can't wait for what's going to happen today. Welcome.
Craig, it's good to be with you guys again, and delighted that we have the opportunity to not only at the first part of 2021 pour in to your companies, but also for sure pour into your real estate agent partners, and super excited about our time together today and grateful for it. So do you want me just to kick it off and get going?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's get
awesome.
What we wanted. We want the interactive stuff. So please, guys, feel free to ask some questions, and we'll have plenty of time at the end to ask Todd some direct questions on what he's covered today, and talk about what we're going to do for the next 10 weeks. We're so excited for that.
Yeah. So welcome, everybody. It's good to be with you guys on the 22nd of January, and always special for me, having grown up as a real estate broker and a loan originator, to be able to speak to both of those individual kind of professional titles. And there's some real magic that I think we can weave together today on this time together. It's the start of, as Craig said, what we envision to be a 10-week experience between the company, the loan originators that work for AmeriFirst and AmeriTrust and AmeriUno, and certainly the real estate agents that they believe in, that they want to add value to, that they see 2021 to be a great year of deepening that partnership and deepening that effectiveness. So the way that we're going to roll today is we're going to talk for about 35 or 40 minutes about these 5 principles. And you're welcome to write down anything you would like as we journey through these principles. Today is not designed to give you a comprehensive overview of what those principles are. It's more to give you a high altitude overview, enough to get you aware of what the principle is, and then enough to get you kind of going in a direction that then we want to, over the next 10 weeks, continue to focus on. At the end of our time together today, we have a special link that you need to copy. And as a result of you giving us your contact information, we will, on behalf of AmeriFirst and AmeriTrust, we will give you a link to the free copy of the actual book that today's 1 hour session is pulled out of. It's a beautiful instructional playbook on how to implement the principles. And so part of today is to do a really, really great job kind of listening and keeping that high level kind of comprehension going. And then as soon as we're done over the weekend, my recommendation would be that you read the book. It's about an hour of reading. And then next week, we're going to kick it off and make some really big things happen. Okay. So I've had the opportunity since I graduated college to really be blessed and blessed in a couple of areas specific to business. One is early in my career, coming out of college, I had a degree in marketing and finance. And my Little League coach happened to be the owner of one of the largest independent real estate companies on the West Coast, Tarbell Real Estate. And not knowing exactly what I wanted to do out of college, I met with him and he introduced me to the president of their mortgage company, and something synced up with me. And I decided at the age of 23 that I would become a professional loan originator. Part of my 90-day blitz was to get going on preparing to get my real estate brokerage license, and also to get equipped to go out and do things special with real estate agents and with borrowers as a lender. So I got very, very clear really, really early that there was a lot of ways on how not to succeed. There was a lot of ways on how to really work hard and not get the kind of ROI that I'd really like to get. And I learned very early on, because I had the good fortune of running into an individual that was about 15 years older than me, much more successful at that point, obviously. And this individual had, in the year that I met him, my first year as a lender, he was gonna help about 400 families finance real estate. So he became my mentor, and under his kind of leadership, I began to develop a key business decision philosophy. And the business decision philosophy that I came across and that I own from the age of 23 to today is the idea that we can be successful in a couple ways. We can be successful by pursuing transactions, or we could be successful by pursuing relationships. Either one can make you a fortune. Either one can cause you to be in poverty, depending on how you do either one of those. But the one that created the greatest amount of residual value and that created the deepest long-term customer value was when I pursued partnership, when I pursued relationship. And my mentor told me that if I pursued the relationship, the business would happen. And I think that was a turning point for me. So I did about 6,000 transactions with my real estate agents in 12 years. And when I was 32 years old, I decided that I'd start speaking. And when I was 34 years old, I started a company that was devoted to helping lenders and real estate agents win together. So that's just who I am. That's just kind of my backdrop. And for the last 27 years or so, I have been on that mission. I've been on that mission to help lenders and real estate agents find a better way of doing business. And that's it. So we have a coaching company, and we do a lot of coaching with thousands and thousands of people, and we're in the space of mortgage and real estate. And so it is from that ecosystem, if you will, maybe even that laboratory, that I have a 100% certainty of what I'm going to share with you today in our time together. And my only encouragement to you is that you have an appetite early on this year to ask yourself, do these principles sound like they would be positive for me in my life as a business professional? We are coming into 2021 out of COVID. We've had a lot of challenges with the business. We've had a lot of excitement with the business with low interest rates. We've watched price appreciation on homes and valuation go up. We've seen a lot of really good things. But at the end of the day, It's about managing the business. It's really, really about managing the business to these principles. And if you do that, no matter what kind of environment you're in, you will win at a higher level than if you ignore these principles or don't implement them into your practice. So how did all this get started? Well, the first thing I want to do is just talk to you about the concept of principles. So this guy's name is Harrington Emerson. He died in 1932, born in the 1800s, was a business theorist and an efficiency expert. So one of the things he said in 1901 is the quote that you see on your screen. And he said, as to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are very few. The man who successfully grasps principles can select his own methods to do with what he wants to do. Okay, but the man who tries methods and ignores principles is sure to fail. And the really good news about this particular idea is the news that the principles are few. And I'm going to give you the 5 that I think are the only principles that you need for the rest of your life in business and in life. But I also want you to know that the problem with most people in terms of trying to be ultra productive is that they try methods that are not based on principally centered thinking. As a result, there's a lot of effort in giving hours to our professions and not getting the kind of ROI that we should be able to take from that profession. So my job today is to give you the principles. Your job today is to ask, would this principle make a difference? And then over the next 10 weeks, it would be to formulate a delivery plan that we'll help you with so that each and every week you are not only using the principles yourself as a loan officer, a branch manager, an ops leader, whomever you are, but you're also using it as a real estate professional and a developer and whoever else might have access to this because of the relationship that you have with the mortgage company. So let's jump into this. And again, the job today is not to go very deep on this. Each one of these principles in a workshop format is a day. So 7 hours of training. I'm going to give you all 5 principles in about 30 minutes. So here's number 1. The first principle to a high performance mortgage and real estate practice, and I might add the first principle to a high performance branch manager, loan officer practice, the first principle to a sales and ops, high performance practice is this idea that everything can be improved. And when we stop and think for just a moment, we have to understand the word everything. And at face value, it may feel like everything is a lot, and it is. And so one of the challenges is to not only understand that this principle is true and can never be refuted, but there's an onus on you to select the things that, based on where you're at in business and life, have the greatest opportunity for improvement. And then as a result of that improvement, have a better life and business experience. That's the idea behind the principle. So I'll give you just a couple pieces of this to have you understand this. And again, we're speaking to the idea that we're going to be on a 10-week journey with each of these principles. And so let me say to you that these should be practiced by you forever. And you should begin to get traction from each one of these in the first 7 days of starting to take a look at them. Relative to principle number 1, I want to say one thing to you that I believe in the commission world in which most sales professionals exist, they must understand that the number 1 exchange rate, what's an exchange rate? Something in, something out. The number 1 exchange rate for anybody that is running a business is time in, revenue out, period, end of story. And so the thing that we begin to center around when we think about everything can be improved is the business performance that allows whatever we're putting in to optimize and maximize whatever it is that we're taking out. So if we keep this in kind of a simple chasm right now, kind of a simple level of focus, what the first idea means is that if I put a minute in, I should get $1 out. Okay. And just, there's no magic to the minute or the dollar. It's just to get you thinking about the concept. If I am going to invest in my business and I'm going to build a team and I'm going to maybe hire people to be part of that team, I'm going to put a dollar of salary in or commission in, and I'm going to want to get some multiplier on that dollar out. So without just unleashing all the different areas in which this principle exists, it's important to understand that from my perspective as a success coach, that the thing that I have witnessed probably more than any other calamity that I have witnessed in watching people in business is they don't understand this exchange rate. And as a result of that, they don't spend enough time of the time that they're allocating to the business to really measure what time am I putting in and what am I getting out. And as a result of that, if you really kind of zoom out for just a moment, think about something that is bigger possibly than anything you've ever thought about. If I really understand the principle, I would ask, why do I take a week to do what I might be able to do in a day? Or why would I take a year to do what I might be able to do in a month? Why would I spend 12 months earning this when I could spend 4 months earning this times 4? So there's this massive concept behind this, that it's about really looking at, why am I letting my performance be anything other than maximizing that exchange rate? So this morning before we got going, I was doing some research, and I went to Glassdoor.com, I went to Indeed.com, I went to thebalance.com, and I did a couple searches this morning just so I could give you some fresh information. And I entered, what does the average loan officer make in America? And the range that I got in America outside of the 90th percentile was $23 on the low to $75 on the high per hour. Okay, so in that search criteria with 3 different platforms and the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, we have a per hour income range of 23 to 75. I then did the same thing with real estate agents, and I typed that in and did some research, and the number for real estate agents in a year is $19.50 an hour to $54 an hour at the high end. Okay, so I give that to you just as a framework, right? That's all I'm doing, is I'm giving it to you as a framework. So then the question that has to be asked and answered is, all right, if I'm going to give an hour of my life to the business, what am I actually taking out of that hour in income? And the idea behind everything can be improved is everything can be improved. If I really understand efficiency, I could take an hour conversation and I could get rid of 80% of the conversation that doesn't really matter. And I could take that hour conversation down to, 16 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Now in that time frame, I could actually do 3 of those conversations instead of only 1. If I take a look at anything that I'm doing with regard to activity management, and I look at all the things that I might have my hands on during the day, I can start to look at what are the things that I'm not either good at or I shouldn't be doing, and how would I pare those back so that I could in fact realize that in my 8 hours, if I only have 2 hours where I'm working with borrowers or buyers or sellers or agents, and I have 6 hours where I am not, what can I do to carve out another hour or 2 or 3 or 4? In fact, if everything can be improved, what would I have to do to get to a point where I'm spending the majority of my day doing the fewest things that have the highest contribution to revenue out based on labor in? And I could actually take 10 hours a week where I'm making money and 30 hours a week where I'm supporting the business I brought in. And in the course of a year, I could get that all the way to 30 hours a week I'm making money, and then 10 hours I'm supporting what I'm doing. Fast Company Magazine has a very interesting stat, and they say that the top 10% of performers in business work an average of 52 minutes making money and then 17 minutes working on other things. 52 minutes making money, 17 minutes working on other things. So the question is, if I understand this exchange rate, and I understand that I can make decisions, like if everything can be improved, why would I do an open house over a 3-hour period of time when I can do an open house over a 1-hour period of time? How do I do things uniquely and differently? And even with virtual coming on, when I look at the exchange rate of time in, money out, how much time am I actually spending with the client? And do I have clients that are taking way too much time for what they're giving me? Do I even have bandwidth about that? You know, if I'm showing property, could I actually show less homes and get more sales? And if I'm working with borrowers, could I actually ask fewer questions of borrowers and create faster trust? These are all the things that come in under this one thing. I only have 35 minutes to share the 5 principles with you, but this is what begins to happen. And so when you look at the top 10%, which we would all confirm and agree with is high performance, what are those guys and gals able to make? And we all start at the same level. We all start with time in, money out. So we have people right now that we're coaching in real estate and lending that last year averaged $3,500 an hour every hour they worked for a 30 to 40 hour work week. We have a real estate agent we're coaching in Kentucky that has gone from $8 million in sales to $40 million in sales and hasn't spent an extra minute. In fact, has reduced his work week from an average of 52 hours down to 38. So the question is, if everything can be improved, what are the game-changing needle mover improvements that you need to make that can give you this kind of layup to start getting more out of the time that you're giving? We know that in our regular coaching company that if you follow the principles that we teach, which are these 5, you can go from an average of $52 an hour to $719 an hour in 12 months or less. And I speak to all of you to ask yourself, are you measuring your hourly rate every 2 weeks or every month when you get your money in? Are you measuring how much of your life you gave to the business and how much you're getting out of it? And if you're not, then you're not forcing this efficiency. So again, a million things we could lay down in terms of this, but everything can be improved. Now, principle number 2 is very interesting, because if everything can be improved, then you're going to have to do things you've never done. And when you do things you've never done, there's always going to be risk. There's always going to be potentially fear and maybe inaccurately negative emotional fear. But there has to be an attitude towards, if everything can be improved, it's going to require a different layer of action from me. If everything can be improved, I'm going to have to start doing things that I'm not comfortable with. I'm going to have to start doing things that I'm potentially not good at. And anything that I'm not good at, as long as it's a main activity I should be good at, and as long as it's something that I am passionate about doing and that has purpose in doing it, there's going to be risk. And so what we begin to see is that a lot of people are stuck. And they're stuck because they don't have a healthy perspective about this principle. Let me share with you what I mean. So success and failure, they are as symbiotic as sisters and brothers. I mean, they exist at the same time in a relationship, okay? If we understand that, we understand that just like hot and cold, just like fast and slow, just like loud and soft, just like light and day, just like happy and sad. Okay, you can't have any of those without the other. You cannot have success unless you couldn't also have simultaneously failure. And you can't have failure if you're not trying to be successful, except for the natural failures that exist. And so what ends up happening is the science of this principle says that the higher the desired performance, the bigger the relationship between having a healthy appetite towards and an appreciation for setbacks and failures. In fact, people start to see that there's actually no such thing as failure unless we understand that failure produces a new behavior and a new outcome. And so what we learn about high performance people is that they are not afraid to fail. It's not that they're potentially excited about it, although I'll tell you they are. When you think about the big breakthroughs and the big innovations and the big successes that we look at, and we think about then our individual relationship to those successes, there's 100% relationship between getting it wrong as a function to getting it right. And if we don't try to do it right, then there's not going to be the observation of doing it wrong. And when we look at these two things, we cannot run from failure. We also don't want to wake up every day and say, I am so excited to fail today, although some of the greatest inventors of all time have awakened every day with that attitude. Today, I get to figure out another way my idea is not going to work. And in that process, I'm able to become successful. So what we know about high performance is that there is a relationship between their practice readiness and their game preparedness. And what we know about high performance is that setbacks are not taken as negatives. They're taken as positives. Success is the outcome of doing things wrong initially and then doing them right over time. One of the examples I like to share is I'm a private pilot, and when I learned how to fly, one of the things that was uniquely difficult for me was landing. And you can appreciate that, if you're going to fly a plane, you need to learn how to land. And it wasn't intuitive yet. It wasn't comfortable yet. I was scared flying an airplane. I'm coming down to the runway and, I'm not sure how to do this. And I remember a day that I had 8 practice landings, and all 8 were horrible. I mean, 2 could have killed me. Thankfully, I had somebody next to me who was helping me understand the success and failure of landing. I even at one point, when I was doing my practice landings, took off again without reducing the flaps, which is like one of the ways you die. And so when you think about this, if the goal is to be a great pilot, you can never, ever, ever avoid knowing how to land. I mean, just taking the plane up is easy, but landing it is life altering. You got to be able to do it, right? So I remember talking to my instructor, and I remember talking to my wife, and then I remember the stories of the Michael Jordans, and the Thomas Edisons and all of this. And I started to realize, the more I practice poorly, the better I'll get at doing this thing. The more the more I do it, the less poor I will be at it, as long as I'm improving and realizing that every single time I have a mistake, some large, some small, in doing the thing. Even when I remember inventing the high trust interview and sitting down with real estate agents and asking them questions that they'd never been asked, I felt really, really weird when I started doing that. Everything we start to do, we will feel is weird until what it is that we start, we become masters of. And that's why the relationship between principle 1 and principle 2 is so important, that whatever it is that I want to do to improve something in principle number 1, Principle number 2 is going to say, you better have a lot of resilience. You better have a really healthy attitude towards setbacks and things not working out. And you better learn lessons fast so that you don't continue to make mistakes. And when you think about failure, and when you think about light and dark and cold and hot, you got to understand that you got to wake up every day and say, I'm good with either one, because the success is what I'm going for. I want to maintain that. But the failure is what is in between where I am right now and where I want to be. And so if you have that healthy attitude, then you don't have a negative mindset. You don't get down on yourself. And chances are, if you're trying to improve something that is really amazing in principle number 1, the better your attitude towards failure is in principle number 2, the faster you will get to the new result out of principle number 1. So those are those 2 relationships. Now, you'll know and you'll see these principles are not on their own pillars. They're all linked together. So one of the areas, if you make the decision that I made, which is I'm going to pursue relationship, I'm not going to pursue transaction. I believe that the relationship will produce the transactions. I believe that those that pursue transactions are probably less confident in repeat business, less confident in scale, less confident in even the idea of accelerated trust. So if in number 1, everything can be improved, then number 3 says, how fast can you create trust? So if I'm going to be in the relationship business and I understand number 1, I understand that if I'm going to improve the speed with which I execute trust in a relationship, I'm probably going to have to do some practice rounds. I'm probably going to have to make some bad landings in terms of interview questions and things like that. But I'm okay with that, because what I'm going for is I'm going for accelerated trust. So what we know in principle number 3 is emotional connection deepens trust and expedites conversion. So let's go back to principle number 1 and tie it into principle 3. So if I'm a real estate agent and I predominantly work with sellers to list, if I'm a buyer's agent, I predominantly work with buyers to buy. If I'm a lender and I predominantly work with borrowers to borrow, the question is, how fast can you set trust? I mean, that's the question, right? So if somebody says to me, it always feels that about, 15, 20 minutes into a conversation, we start to kind of jive together, right? And I think that we look at particularly on the lending side, we look at lenders that even with the onset of technology, which theoretically is supposed to improve the way we interface with our borrowers and you and all of that, they still say that sometimes it feels like it's a half an hour to 45 minutes before I really feel we're going in the right direction. So I'm not going to poo-poo that if it works. I'm just going to ask you what makes sense. Here's principle number 1 and principle number 3 tied together. It's just a question from me to you. Would I want to take 30 minutes to create trust? Or if everything can be improved, is it possible that I create trust in 3 minutes? And you look at that and you go, if I could take my speed of trust from 30 minutes to 3 minutes, what would that do for my business immediately? And what would it do for my business over time? And one of the examples, probably a year and a half ago, it was Ryan Serhant and Tyler Whitman. They were competing for a listing, and the listing was a ground floor, 4,000 square foot, kind of just creative. You may have seen the episode, but it was a very creative, it was a combination of a big apartment and an art gallery. But the owner was a very creative guy. And anyway, to make a long story short, the two are competing for the listing. It's the same price, same listing, same everything. Tyler was not going emotional, and Ryan was going emotional. And all Ryan did at the end of kind of a dialogue with the seller and his wife is simply asked a question: what are you passionate about? And so as a listing agent, to ask the sellers, what are you passionate about? And the husband said, creative. We're passionate about creating. And what Ryan did is he started tying selling this home to like a Picasso experience, and, you know, going out and buying another new home and doing the same thing to that and having a new canvas. And what we don't do really, really well in business is we don't ask the penetrating questions that get us connected fast. Somewhere between our research with Princeton, Harvard, the Edelman Trust Barometer, and the Pittsburgh School of Psychology, in all of those as research platforms for us, what we are told is that brands can create emotional connection in 90 seconds or less. And so the question that I put out to anybody that's viewing this is, how long does it take to create that? And would everybody agree, if I could ask you to raise your hands, you probably would everybody agree that if I could create emotional connection faster, I would create yes faster? And if emotional connection is created faster and it is deeper, then price pressure is relieved. In fact, I will tell you, there's an inverse relationship between how much of a discount or how much price negotiation you will have to experience, and it will always be higher as a reverse reality to the lowness of trust. So we have to decide in business, are we going to be high trust, high advice, or are we going to be low trust, low advice? And nobody wakes up saying, I want to do business and do it without trust. But there is a varying degree between low trust and high trust. High trust speeds things along. High trust reduces negotiation. High trust reduces shopping comparison. High trust reduces all price pressure. High trust creates faster conversion, probably more qualified prospects, generally speaking. And what we have to do is we have to get to this point where we start to realize that buying a home, selling a home, financing a home, probably three of the most emotional things people will go through in their life. And so the real successful agents and lenders figure out how to do that together. How do we look like a team as we rock and roll with buyers and sellers and help with the financing and create a really beautiful experience between what you as an agent might do and what we as a lender might do? What we teach lenders and agents: fewer questions, deeper emotion, faster conversion. Okay. And that's all you have to think about. So now they all start to kind of combine that. So if I take an hour normally to create enough connection to get things going, what would happen if I could do it in 10 minutes? And all things being the same, would you rather convert in 10 minutes or an hour? And everybody would say 10 minutes. So here's the three things you need to write down right now. For conversion to be high, there needs to be chemistry between two people. So if I'm in selling and a prospect is borrowing, buying, or listing, or a combination of all those, okay, there has to be chemistry. I got to like that person and that person has to like me. If there's no chemistry, there is going to be low conversion. Once I have chemistry, I have to ask different questions to see connection, deeper questions, fewer questions, more impactful questions around things that are emotional, not superficial things, not number of bedrooms, not price points, not appraisal turn times, not any of that. It's heart stuff, not head stuff. Once I have the connection done, then I collaborate. And the beautiful thing about collaboration with a buyer, a seller, a borrower, and or a lender and an agent is if we collaborate, we grow. So if I like you and you like me, and we have discussions about how we can connect together deeply, I know what's important to you, you know what's important to me, and then we have discussion during the transaction. We have discussion normally in the course of doing business together. If we have discussion around what we want to improve together, how can I improve the experience for you as an agent? How can you improve the experience for me as a seller? You know, those kinds of collaborations that are all part of high trust, then really, really big things happen. So those three things: chemistry, connection and collaboration are huge. And what this does is it leads us to principle number 4. And principle number 4 is competence leads to confidence. Confidence leads to consistency. So what we're doing, these 3 principles so far, everything can be improved. I got to love failing because failing and success are related. I've got to buy off on relationship, and then I've got to go deep with those questions. It creates faster conversion, which opens up the door to number 1 again. And then number 4 is the better I get at that, the more of it I will do. And this is huge. This is absolutely huge. How you do something is important. Okay. Whether it's negotiating, interviewing, recommending, solving, even in your personal life, taking shortcuts, trying to do this, trying to do that. How you do something is really important. And what I need to say to you, and I hope that you feel it right now, but what I need to say to you is that if you're not confident and competent, listen carefully, you could work 40 years to do what you could otherwise do in 10. And so the really, really high performers, really high, I'm talking about in real estate and lending 7 figures a year in commissions. The highest performers are really, really good at very few things that they had to make a conscious decision to get good at and then to get great at. And as a result of that, like let me paint a picture for you. And again, I'm sure that we speak to the whole varying degree of the audience that's with us today. But and I'll keep it super simple. If I have any level of call reluctance, and all that is I portray onto a sales scenario which has not yet occurred, the stuff that might go wrong. Okay, or I think back on history and some of the calls I made that didn't really materialize into greatness, and I bring that into the conversation in my head, right? So if I have, in a very simple way, if I am afraid of landing, I am not going to take off. Okay, and so that's landing reluctance, right? If I have any fear and any reluctance to do something, I'm either there because I'm not good at it, or I don't believe I need to be good at it. And what I'm suggesting to you is if I'm not really good at doing a thing, I might do just enough of it to get by. But if I am really great at doing a thing, then I'm going to clear the decks, and that is all I'm going to do. I've got a lender I'm coaching right now, a single originator that has built a team of 9 people, and they are doing 40 consultations a day. But they're really good at it. They take 15 minutes each, and there is no end result other than let's fill the day with that. Because if we're filling the day with that and we're doing mortgage reviews and we're recommending things to do on acquisition and investment and refinancing, and I'm really good at it, then we're just going to do it more. But if I'm not good at it, we're going to fill the time, which I think leads to the $23 an hour, the $53 an hour, the $75 an hour instead of $750 an hour. I think that's what fills the time. We fill the time and we move from busy. Okay, we move from productive to busy, or we move from busy to stuck because we're not good. So back to the landing thing. I had to get signed off. It took me 71 landings before my instructor finally said, I have confidence that you know how to land an airplane. 71. So now I don't have any fear about landing, just like I don't want any fear about making a sales call. I don't want any fear about entering a negotiation. I don't want to have anything I'm not good at if it's a core skill set. And this efficiency thing rolls everywhere. You know, if you're a runner, you can improve the way you run. If you're a cyclist, you can improve the way you cycle. If you're an investor, you can improve the way you invest. If you're married, you can improve the way your marriage works. If you're a father or a mother, you can improve the way you parent. Everything, but I got to know what to do. And I got to really, really go through the drills. So competence leading to confidence. all of a sudden gets you to this point where I could actually increase my consistency by 300 to 400% by getting principle number one, better at. And then once I'm better at, then I do it because I'm not afraid. Now, all this syncs up and it gets down to this point. Okay, so to get really good, I have to have a really high practice to play threshold. And then to get really consistent, I have to be really organized at doing those few things. And so at some level, everybody has to understand principle 5. And principle 5 is accountability is more important than action. If action were all that was necessary, everybody in real estate and lending would be millionaires because they're taking a whole bunch of action. Okay, but the fact is, they're taking a lot of the wrong action and they're doing maybe a few of the right actions wrongly. So at some level, we all need oversight. We all need accountability. We need somebody who can mentor us, who can coach us. We all need that in the application of the 5 irrefutable principles. If I'm not seeking a level of accountability and then I'm not measuring metrics, there is a big chance that I'm not improving. So when we're in coaching, we measure for our coaching members, we measure calls per day. We measure calls to database. We measure calls from referrals and partners. We measure percentages of calls that translate into contracts, and we measure percentage of contracts that go to closing. Those are the 5 things we measure. We measure those every single day. And you get a 5 o'clock ping from us, you get a 7 o'clock ping from us, and you get a midnight ping from us. We need you to enter the data because then every day we can hold you accountable to what that data says. And one of the things we want to do is we want to get you to a call level that is right, but I don't want to get you to a call level that's high if my coaches are not helping you get to a conversion level that's even higher. So I don't want you to make more calls. We got to get to the right number of calls. I want you to get better at getting yes, which are these 5 principles. And if I can get better at getting yes, and then I can measure my hourly rate every 2 weeks, and I can have somebody help do that, and I can get really clear on it, then all of a sudden I scale. It is not uncommon at all to watch hourly rate when you follow the first 4 principles and then you have some accountability go up by 600 or 700% in a calendar year. And that's mind boggling. You make $100 an hour. We're talking about going to, $700, $800, $900 an hour. Now you got to want that. You got to want it personally. The principles work, but you got to want it. And if you want it, then that begins to happen. If you don't want it, then no accountability is really going to work. But accountability is a healthy idea. It's not a negative idea. It's a very, very healthy idea. We all need accountability. We all need guidance. We all need mentorship from people that are further down the road than we are so that we can minimize the amount of failures and minimize the number of mistakes that we make. But it's interesting. We have to get really, really clear. And I'm going to give you a very, very important concept. Our coaches focus on micro victories. And micro is small victories that over time add up to big results. And I think what these 4 principles do so far is if everything can be improved, I've got to understand success and failure are always going to be symbiotic. The deeper connection I can create, the faster conversion happens and the more money I make per minute on the job. If I understand that how I do something is how I do everything and one change can change everything, and I get to a point where I start to realize that competence is the one thing that leads to confidence, and that is the one thing that leads to consistency, then I want somebody to help me just marry that all up into a package that allows me to scale. And what I'm talking about is I'm talking about this kind of scale. I'm not talking about going up like this. I'm talking about this kind of scale. Now you got to want it. You absolutely got to want it. And when I talk to guys and gals that, for some, it's a 1 year, 2 year kind of project to double our hourly rate, but for most it's under 1 year. And if we're talking about going from 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 400, all it is a result of these principles. But I had a guy that was an Uber driver in Baltimore, and he was really depressed. And I had landed to do a speech before COVID hit. And he asked me what I did, and I told him that I was an author. And he says, "So are you one of those motivators?" And I said, "It all depends on whether or not you want to be motivated." And he looked in the rearview mirror and he said, "You need to motivate me." And I said, "What's up?" And he says, "I'm depressed." I said, "Why are you depressed?" He said, "Every Saturday when I get on the scale, I get really, really depressed because I never lose weight." And I said, "That's a problem." He said, "What do you mean that's a problem?" I said, "You get on the scale every week, just once a week." And he said, "That's what my trainer tells me to do." And so I said, "How's that working out for you?" And he said, "It's not working out good. I'm depressed." So I said, "Here's the problem with weight loss once a week is you have 6 days and 23 hours and 55 minutes that you have not been measuring how you're doing." And I'm not saying get on the scale 5 times a day, but I am saying that you're better off measuring where you are daily, or in high performance selling, where I am hourly. You're better off measuring frequently and making micro changes than you are making massive changes in a longer period of time. I'd rather have 100 micro victories a week leading to one big result than I would try to have 10 macro things I do and not get the kind of growth I want to get. And so I just told him, I said, just change things. Get your morning routine, get up, go to the bathroom, get on the scale, do it every day. Cut out, if everything can be improved, lower your calories by blah, 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 blah across the board. I said, if you lower your calories and your fat content by blah, 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 and you do that every day and you just measure the next morning how you're doing, start looking at the number on the other side of the decimal point, not what's before it. Pretty soon you're going to feel momentum because every day that the scale is going down, not by a lot, but every week it's going up. And that's not working for you. And in the course of 100 days, he lost 42 pounds. So micro. So those are the principles. And principle 1, everything can be improved. Principle 2, you've got to understand success and failure cannot ever be separated. Principle number 3 is you got to understand emotional connection accelerates trust and expedites conversion. Number 4 is you got to get really, really game ready, get competent to the point where you desire consistency, and then you've got to embrace accountability. So what we want to do is we want to move towards what do you need to do to take this home. So you'll notice at the bottom of this slide, my website, toddduncan.com/coaching. This is not an offer to coach you. That's not at all what this is about. But if you go to our coaching page and scroll down, you will see the 5 irrefutable principles of high performance mortgage and real estate practices. All you need to do is click on that, put your email in, and you will be able to download the book for free. And then you can read that book. And over the next 10 weeks, the perfect world for me and what I would like to have for you is over the next 10 weeks, if you're a loan originator with AmeriFirst, AmeriTrust, AmeriUno, and you have your agents that you've invited, and maybe even which agents do you really want to do this with and go deep on, you print the book out, your agents print the book out, and what you do is you work the first week on principle 1, you meet, you collaborate, you talk about what you guys can improve, you go to work on that for a week, the following week you get together and you evaluate. So this could be 30 minutes one week, and then 30 minutes the next week, and then 30 minutes a week after that. And so the third week you do principle 2, and then the 4th week evaluate. The 5th week you do principle 3. The 6th week you evaluate, and pretty soon we've gone through 10 weeks. It gets us to the end of March, first week in April, and all of you have implemented this process. So that's the 5 principles. And we got about 10 minutes for some Q&A, and Craig, I'll turn it back to you, but exciting stuff. It's really, really life-changing.
Yeah, that's an understatement, Todd. I got notes. You guys can't see that, I guess, but wow, amazing stuff. Yeah, I want to bring in Ron and Doug and Dave. I know I don't think Mark had the ability to stick around here, but lots of kudos and thank yous coming along in the Q&A box. Guys, we've got other books available because we were going to give these away for questions, but Todd has already given away everybody for free. So we got this book, High Trust Selling, that we've got some copies of, and we'll get Todd to sign them for you. So throw in some comments, throw in some questions. We'd love to hear from you and what your thoughts are about this amazing hour and how it's going to impact you over the course of the next 10 weeks. Ron, what are your thoughts?
I want to start off with this, Todd. First of all, I'm super grateful for what you just did. And I also recognize that when you're sitting here and we're in a learning mode and, people are listening, it takes a little bit of time just to kind of get into the mindset. That's important to understand the growth opportunity that's in front of us. But let me tell you what I got. I'm looking at one. I wrote all the principles up on the board. I've been studying a little bit over the last few days. One thing that hit me that we're going to have to overcome, which is the obvious one, and we didn't talk about it, is fear. Because as I look at it, I go, everything can be improved. And most people don't want to improve because, number one, they don't want to measure because they're afraid of what they're going to see. Two, success can only be built on failure. People don't like to fail because they're afraid to fail. Three, emotional connection takes risks. So you got to be willing to go and be vulnerable and have people say, you suck, I don't like you, I don't want to work with you. Number four, the stumbling block becomes confidence, which is they're afraid of their competency, so they never improve. And then you get down to accountability is more important than action, and people don't like to be accountable because they're afraid of what they're going to hear. So I think this is an epic evolution and an opportunity for us to really get underneath the onion there, peel that back, have an honest relationship with our partners that we're working with, because we can look in the mirror. And I think one of the most valuable things that we can offer anybody is accountability. So I'm just going to close my mouth and say thank you and hand it over to the guys for their input as well. But this is very powerful, Todd.
Let me say something, Ron, on fear. I want to say it to everybody. Fear is a single word with 4 letters that you get to decide what emotion you assign to that. If I assign the negative emotion to fear, I will be stuck and paralyzed. If I start to realize that, improving and connecting and failing all gets me happier because I'm growing to be more productive and more profitable and more fulfilled as an individual, then who would not pursue that? And it's very interesting. If we look at competence, confidence, consistency, we're on just that one piece. I was scared to death the first couple of times I landed an airplane. But guess what? If I want to be a pilot, I got to learn how to land. And I have to tell you that now, and this is, I don't have fear of landing. My new landing mindset, same word, FEAR, feeling excited and ready. I'm excited to land an airplane. I look forward to landing an airplane. I play a game with how to land the airplane. I find out, but it's just like, if I don't get good, I'll never be excited. I'm excited to make sales calls. I don't wake up going, oh man. I wake up going, who can I call on today? Who deserves a call today? Feeling excited and ready. And I'm telling you, the bridge between feeling excited and ready and being paralyzed and stuck are these 5 principles. And done. End of the day, these 5 principles empower you to your own potential and your own greatness. But they're not avoidable. Not one of these principles is avoidable if you want to be a high performer.
Hey, Todd, I had a few people texting me saying they want to be the $480 club, which is $480 an hour, 40 hours. That's $1 million a year. So, that was the first thing. They literally started figuring out what they had to do to get to their number. That was good. And then one of the things I'd really like you to expand upon, because you said brand can create trust within 90 seconds.
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
You said your brand can create trust within 90 seconds.
Okay, so there's a concept that we teach called story selling. And story selling is, how can you in 90 seconds say something that all of a sudden eliminates your competition and gets the person you're saying it to understand that you're unique. I'll give you a couple of examples. So in the article, I actually talk about I give a real estate agent example for a seller, an agent example for a buyer, and then a lender example for a borrower. So let me just do the lender one because it's easy. If I have a conversation with a borrower and I'm calling them and we have a time and they pick up, I'm going to say, Betty, it's super, super great to have Danny refer me to you. I just want to say at the outset that most lenders are happy to quote you a rate and produce a cost schedule for you. But how we are different is we help borrowers integrate the mortgage they ultimately select into their dream plan. And their dream plan is all about how do I acquire real estate and how do I make the mortgage work for me instead of me working for the mortgage. And that's how we're different. And right there, it's like, wow, that's unique. That's different. In High Trust Selling, Craig, the book that you put up, we teach a high impact opening. And a high impact opening is I'll sit down with a real estate agent. I'll say, Betty, most lenders are happy to come by, talk to you about their products and service, and even happy to quote you rates. I'm super different. I wake up every day and I want to help my realtors win. I want to help them sell more real estate. I want to help them get more listings. I'm different than most lenders. And today what I'd like to do is, instead of telling you everything I can do for you, I'd like to learn what are the most important things you need as a real estate professional that would help you achieve your dreams and goals. And I want to see if I can help you get there. And right there, that's a 90-second conversation. And I have slammed every other lender because it's right. That's all lenders do. They're vendors. They're not partners. And what makes this unique is I don't want to be a vendor. Vendors do transactions. I want to be a partner. I want to have a relationship with you, and we will do all the transactions we need. But if this isn't right, there's no point in even having the conversation. That's why that chemistry piece, Doug, is so important. You wouldn't believe how many agents and lenders tolerate the clients they have and they don't like the clients.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And I got to tell you, that is amen, amen, amen.
Yeah,
thank you, brother.
Yeah, cool.
The things that come to mind is you're just authentic. You're real. This is he's teed this thing up. This thing has been teed up. When I go through the 5 steps, you're giving it to us. The 5 steps, you all we have to do is go out and download it. Guys, why would you not do this? As I listened to Todd, you make it easy. I love when you went to the emotional connection deepens the trust. You start talking about heart stuff versus head stuff. Man, I'll tell you what, why would you not want to find the easiest way to success? And when you're working from the heart versus the head, what happens? You're the beneficiary of a great relationship in most cases. So, guys, I'm telling you, I sit here, I went through each one. I thought, no, that's the one. No, that's the one. No, I like that one best. Todd, you knocked it out here, and my encouragement to our listeners is take him up on it. Take him up on it. Why in the world would we want to sit here and fight the battle like 95% of our competitors?
Yeah.
With these steps, lay out how to do it and do it in a way that you're going to bring value and you're going to bring a difference to people's lives. It's out of sight. Good stuff, Todd.
So thank you, Dave. There's a question I want to answer. There's 3 that got posted, but one is from John DeLeva.
DeLeva, yep.
Yeah, and he said 15 minutes and building trust through competency and caring seems contradictory. I enjoy the benefit of an intentional competency and an innate sense of caring that almost always leads to all the important connection. This is not accomplished in 15 minutes. I offer not as a challenge, but instead a true question. So I love this. And let me just say, I have not suggested to you that one great question and 15 minutes of a conversation is all you need. And if that is what you take, John, I totally get what you're saying. What I want everybody to understand is if I choose collaboration I've got to get them before I can collaborate. I got to have something that happens uniquely and differently up front. And by all means, if I'm choosing relationship, I'm going to get to know you just like, multiple dates and then getting married. And we're going to have to dialogue. We're going to have discussion. We're going to have to continue to get to know each other. So I'm not asking anybody to take a shortcut. I'm saying evaluate who you don't get because you don't do it right at the very, very start. And just think about how could I improve the first impression? Because after the first impression, if I do it well and I get them hooked and there's no manipulation, there's no distrust, there's no, sleazy, slimy snake oil, none of that is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if I can create for you a moment where all of a sudden you realize this is really interesting. This could be really exciting. This is different. I've been in the business so long and I've never had somebody approach me this way. Then I've earned the right to discuss, to collaborate, to care, to understand. And John, what you bring up is a huge point too, because even though we've set this thing up for you guys for 10 weeks, if I'm a lender and I love you and you're a realtor, and you're a realtor and you love me, we better be getting closer and closer and closer every time we do business together, or we're not doing it right. And if I love you and you love me, we'll want to do this. The problem in most business ecosystems is that the seller doesn't love the buyer like they need to love the buyer. And yeah, so John, I really appreciate you bringing that up because I don't want anybody to think for a moment that this is a microwave relationship. I'm just saying, what do we do to, at the very first impression, set it up so the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the 110th time we get together, just get better and better and better. Make sense? Yeah,
it does to me, and I'm sure John will chime in.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, let's see here.
Love the answer. John said John said he loved the answer. And then the download is, you'll get this. Craig, make sure you send out just the download to everybody. ToddDuncan.com/coaching. Just read the page. You'll see the article. Click on it. It's a 25-page playbook on how to do what we just talked about.
And for anybody that won't get my email, if there's any realtors out there, I know Sarah asked the question, feel free to send an email to consideritdone@amerifirst.com and we will get that for you. Mike Hoffman has been thanked by Mary, must be in Michigan, for inviting her to join. So great job there. Steve asked, what's the best way to set up an accountability partner? Should it be a business partner? Most of our managers are producing managers and busy originating themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that accountability, it takes on 4 layers. So let me just start with the 4 layers. The first layer is personal. And personal accountability is best activated when you're really clear on your purpose and really clear on why you're doing what you're doing. If I'm really clear on why I'm doing what I'm doing, then I'm going to have just a higher level of personal accountability. Somebody pinged on the Q&A, am I still running? And I'm not running, but I cycle 150 miles a week. And I have an electronic app accountability partner, and I have a personal accountability drive because I realize that when I'm done with that 50-mile bike ride, I am unstoppable, and I want to be unstoppable. I want to have the kind of energy and clarity that I can change the world. And so I never, ever not ride my bike. I don't care how cold it is. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You will not be able to talk me out of riding my bike 150 miles a week. And you'll not be able to talk me out of taking care of myself from a nutritional standpoint and a health standpoint. Why? Because I want to be unstoppable. I want to have the energy, the clarity, the drive, and the purpose and the vision to help people win, period. End of story. Once I have personal accountability, then I want a level of partner accountability. And there's 2 types of partner. One is somebody that's your life partner. So Deb and I hold each other accountable on everything. I sent her a text yesterday. I said, you realize how many women are lining up to read your book? Millions and millions of lives are going to be changed because you're almost done with a 5-year project that's going to be life-changing. I inspire her. She inspires me. We hold each other accountable because we have our dream boards and we know what's important to each of us. So that partner accountability is huge. And then there's the professional accountability. It can be a branch manager to an LO. It can be a branch manager who's producing to the next layer above. It can be at any level. We coach branches, we coach individuals, we coach executives. You can have a professional relationship with a high trust coach. And, you guys have seen what's at stake here today on this call. And our coaching programs run $8,000 a year all the way to $35,000 a year. And the $35,000 a year people are making over $2 million a year, each and every one of them, because at some level they said, I want to improve my hourly rate. So somewhere in there's that. And then the last one is prayerful accountability. Prayerful accountability I do every single morning. I am praying, I am meditating, I am listening to my heart and my spirit and what kind of is going on in my mind. I want to start the day off right, and I want to have that kind of accountability. For me, it's like I have so much calmness in my life, even though sometimes things get hectic. COVID was hard. It is hard. There's lots of things that are challenging, but I have a peace that surpasses all understanding. I know where I'm going when this thing's over, and I'm just going to do the best job I can between now and then to make an impact and make a difference. And when I pause long enough in the morning to have that kind of connection time with, the universe, with my higher power, the day is much better. And if I don't do that, then the day is not as good. So those are the four kind. And the other thing I would say to the lender and agent relationship is I put this 10-week thing on your calendar like today. If I'm the loan officer and I invited an agent, I'm going to send that agent a 10-week invite right now. I'm going to pick the day and the time. We're going to get it done. We're going to have an end date. We're going to alarm it. And I'm going to put it on the calendar right now. I'm not going to wait till Tuesday to figure out how to get it scheduled. I'm going to call my agents and I'm going to say, let's talk every Tuesday between 3 and 3:30 for the next 10 weeks. Boom. I'm going to send it to you. Let's alarm it. Boom, boom, boom. You answer it, you accept it. And now time blocking has happened. In arguably one of the more important relationship pieces there are, just like you guys should never close a loan for a borrower without putting the recycle date on when are you going to call that borrower again. And if I can schedule every 90 days or every 6 months, or at the very least a mortgage efficiency checkup once a year, I want to put that on the calendar. I want to alarm it. I want to take the end date to 2040. And then I want to make sure that it's set, right? Because if it's not set, I'm going to forget about it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. You have time? I know we're 15 minutes over the hour. We got one more question. Todd, are you good?
So I can go. I was born for this, Craig. This is why I wake up. So yes.
I love it. I love it. So Roscoe asks, loves the fitness parallel. And as a new loan officer breaking in, what's the best approach to incorporate accountability with existing partners as well as building new partners?
Well, so existing partners is, Roscoe, you could call every one of them today and say, I just spent the most important 75 minutes, I believe, of my life. And I need to come by your office, or I need to get on a Zoom call with you, or depending on social distancing, I need to talk to you about what I just discovered. And I want to show you how we can do something very special together in 2021. That's what I would do for existing. Because right now, almost everybody that went through this, if they evaluate how they're doing with their existing partners, we've been busy with refinances. The purchase market is coming back. There's going to be $1 trillion less refis this year. We gotta decide once and for all that partnerships and purchase business is always the number one thing we focus on. If I'm acquiring new partners, then it has to be around a business plan, which takes into consideration how much volume I want to do, how many borrower conversations I need to have to make that goal work, how many partners do I need, and how fast will I add them? So it might be, Roscoe, that you need 4 new partners. What's a good pace to add them? Once a week, just add a new partner once a week, make that a priority, and then do this 10-week thing with a new partner. It's unbelievable. You sit down with a new partner and you go, here's what I want to do together. First thing I want to do is I want to evaluate our business, and more specifically your business. And why don't you tell me the top 3 areas you'd like to improve in the next 12 months? Or what are the top 3 things you want to do? And I could come alongside you and help you with that. and then, by the way, let's get together next Wednesday and let's see what we can come up with together to make that happen. And then after that, I want to talk about what you're afraid of. And I want to figure out where where you're not doing what needs to be done, and where I may not be doing what needs to be done because we haven't figured out the success failure equation. blah, 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 blah. So Roscoe, it's about, man, Ron, you and Doug and I go back so far. This is like, this same message I'm sending you is the same message that we all started agreeing to in the early 90s. And nothing has changed today. Technology has come in a way that it wasn't there before. People have to exist for connection. And Roscoe, the business partnership thing is about connection. So if you can do things uniquely and differently, and all you have to do, I'm going to say this very slowly, Craig, you may want to write it down. For a partnership to work really well, given everything I've said, the lender in this case must ask the agent questions he's never asked, she's never asked, to learn things he's never learned or she's never learned, so he can solve things or she can solve things that they've never solved. And I'm going to make it that simple. If you change the quality of your questions with an agent, you will change the quality of the relationship and the quantity of the business that is done. You got to understand that. You got to understand that. And it's fewer questions. It's not, you don't have to ask 100 questions. You got to ask maybe 5 or 10 really, really important dialogue questions. And then the partnerships kick into gear. Because bear in mind, nobody does this. It's not like loan officers just line up and they do an awesome job interviewing agents. And agents probably are guilty of the same thing. You know, you go into a listing pitch and pitch. Okay, well, think about it. Ask a different question.
I think we just got about 3 45-second little segments that we're going to cut out of there, and we're just going to expose that time and time again to our team. And I will tell you, I've been asking everybody on these Hour of Powers to send in, and I'm going to do it again today. Please send in your takeaway, 1, 2, 3, however many takeaways you took today. But what you just said, and I'd already started this from when you talked about it 30 minutes ago, the one takeaway for me was ask penetrating questions to create trust and emotional connection, and you just validated it again in a different way. Roscoe says, thanks, Todd, really appreciate it. Love the action step. Steve, great input, wow, in all caps. So just unbelievable stuff here. And to Dave's point, why in the world would you just not do it? Linda Thomas already shared that she's already downloaded the book. So she's multitasking, and she does that, and she's awesome. Another takeaway, Linda Thomas, please send these in here, but also send them to Consider It Done. I want to document them. So when I send out the recording and the video, I put everybody's takeaways out there. So maybe it's something everybody else saw, but maybe there's some other takeaway that you heard and you didn't realize, and I'll put that in there. So Linda's takeaway, high performance people are not afraid to fail. And that is important to learn for sure. So thank you again so much, Todd. Really appreciate you being with us and going over the hour. To say it's an hour of power is really an understatement, because again, we're going to use this time and time again. Don't worry, guys. We are going to help you with those 10 weeks and how to structure them, how to put those things together. Ron, I see you're unmuted. You want to close it out?
Hey, this was awesome, Todd. This was golden. That's all I can tell you. It was absolutely golden, and I'm fired up to get this launched now. And what a powerful hour. Hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes. Just incredible. Joy. Thank you so much.
Absolute joy. Love you guys, and have a great weekend. And February is right around the corner, man. Let's kick it into high gear.
Thanks, Todd.
You're here.
Right.
Selling season in the Midwest is right around the corner as well. All right, guys, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Be smart.
Thanks,
Be
Todd.
safe. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday. Take care, everybody.